And I got tons of comments. What about all the Bond cars? And I go, well, yeah. So I own the most famous Aston Martin on the internet, is essentially what it boils down to. And the way I came about it was formerly owned by Doug DeMuro. It was then acquired by Tavarish, two very well-known YouTubers, and then it was acquired by me. Actually, there is a little bit of an interesting backstory to this. When I used to go to the New York Auto Show, because I'm based in New Jersey, I would always go and take pictures with my crummy little flip phone. Like, yeah, awesome, let's take a picture of this Aston Martin on this 1 megapixel, like Game Boy looking thing. So apparently a Facebook memory popped up, I think a couple of months ago after I bought the Aston, and it was a DB9 from probably like 2008. It says, "I will own you one day." And I was like, oh, well, I own an Aston Martin now, so that's kind of interesting. I'd always known about the Aston through Doug, of course, Doug DeMuro, one of the biggest car YouTubers out there. He bought it for his Doug car, and he famously took it across the entire country, but probably even more famously had the bumper-to-bumper limited mileage warranty. And of course, everyone that knows Doug and knows cars on YouTube would follow that whole thing. How he drove it through the snow, how he drove it to Wyoming, and has a picture next to a bison, probably one of the only pictures next to a bison of an Aston Martin ever created. So that was kind of neat. But I'd always followed that car, and I always liked Aston Martin for its aesthetic appeal. It always had really cool engine notes, and it was always on my radar as a car company to purchase from, but never at the top. Like even now, my attainable dream car is a Jaguar F-Type R, because it sounds ridiculous. I've driven almost the entire range, all the way from the base up to the SVR. The car is really, really cool. It just doesn't have a manual in the V8, which is a bummer, but the V6 with the manual sounds glorious. The V8 has with all those pops and crackles. So that's my attainable dream car, but Aston had kind of always been on the radar. He sells it to Freddie. Freddie and I know each other through other things we've done together, and we did the press car together back with the FRS, so that's how we met. And we always kept in touch, and I followed the Aston on his channel too. He put an X-pipe exhaust in it. Basically sounds like a NASCAR at open throttle now. And it was sort of this thing where it was always just in the background. It was never, oh I gotta have that car, I want that car. So Freddie Tavarish, as you guys probably all know him on YouTube, bought the Lamborghini twin turbo Spider, and that has basically skyrocketed his channel. And when he got it, he reached out to me and said, hey, I don't really need the room. I have enough room for these cars, but do you want to buy the Aston? I know you had liked it, and I know you followed it through the whole story with Doug, and we watch it on my channel too. But I'd like it to go to a good home. Since this was my attainable dream car, the Freddie talking, and I said, yeah, definitely yes, I want the Aston. So of course I had to check with my wife first and make sure that it was an okay purchase. But basically I took it, and I'm trying to bring it back to its former glory, because Doug or Freddie didn't mishandle the car in any way. Doug had the warranty. He had a ton of work done to it under warranty, got a lot of the mechanicals in order. Freddie took care of it very, very well. It was garage kept it out of the rain, didn't do a ton of crazy modifications to it, but I kind of wanted to bring it back to its former glory, because it's an older car. It's 2007. The wheels have big chunks taken out of them, and it was a used car, but it was used in the way it should have been. A lot of these exotic cars, you see your garage queens, and people don't drive them. I like cars that are driven, and that's kind of one of the reasons why it really piqued my interest when Freddie wanted to sell it to me, because I know it had been used. I know it had been loved by two really good enthusiasts, and people that had watched the series really loved the car too. So it has 68,000 miles on it now, and it's not the most high mileage Aston Martin in the country or the world. I routinely see Aston Martin's V8 Vantages specifically on Car Gurus and Auto Trader and all these other sites and whatever that have near 100,000 or over 100,000 miles on it. And it's strangely a dead reliable car from a mechanical standpoint, because the engine, it's an AJ block that Aston basically stroked to 4.3 themselves. But the AJ block is, same thing that Jaguar uses, the same thing that Ford uses since what seems like the beginning of time. I think AJ engines date back 40, 50 years now. So, they started with a great platform, and they just kind of made it their own. But it's quite reliable from an engine standpoint, at least. When we bought it, people were like, yeah, you bought the Doug car, that's really cool. But people were also like, wow, this is a third generation YouTube car. You probably should have bought something else. What a terrible decision you've made. So I'm sitting there going, wow, that's not really the reaction I wanted, but okay, cool. Let's see where this goes. So there's a couple of things I still want to do to the car. The dashboard has a bit of leather that's totally pulled up. There's a few things I've done to it aesthetically. The wheels were just totally knackered, and I replaced those with some BC Racing wheels that, you know, a little bit of snowflake to them. They're nice wheels. They're almost like HRE light. HREs, you know, I looked into the wheels for that car, and they were like 12, 13 grand. I'm like, I'm not spending a third of the price of this car on wheels. Not a thing that's happening. So they were the right price, so I put them on. And they were insanely light, very, very cool wheels. Put some sticky Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires on it, and it just transformed the car into this really angry beast of a car that could handle way better than it could with these bald Pirelli tires that were on it before. So we've done that to the car. I've wrapped it from its silver. Now it's this dark blue that is stunningly gorgeous. I mean, repainting this car would have been $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 at a minimum. With Aston Martin paint, God, probably be $20,000, $30,000. But the wrap, you know, turned out to be very, very cheap, and I think it was only $4,000, but it looks like factory fresh paint, so that was really kind of nice. And it just looks like a totally different car, which is really cool. And I bring it to events by me. There's a great group by me called Cars and Chai, because they can't do cars and coffee. But they're a bunch of supercar owners. They have McLarens and F40s and even really, really neat old British cars like Triumphs. And every time I pull up to an event with it, everyone looks at it and says, "Oh my God, that car is gorgeous!" So, and not even because it's like the Doug car or the Freddie car, but they love it because it's an interesting looking Aston Martin, and that's part of the reason why I bought it. I wanted to transform it into a car that a lot of people could enjoy, not just myself. You know, bring it to events. People look at it and love it, and on the highway, people rolling down their windows. What even is that? Like, a lot of people don't even know what it is, and you know, you explain it to them and like, wow, that's really cool. I have to look up more about Aston Martin. I didn't even know that car existed. And I'm like, cool. You know, you may have made a whole new car enthusiast out of, you know, just a random meeting at a stoplight. So I think that's kind of neat. But that's how I kind of came to own the most famous internet Aston Martin in the world. You know, I've probably been seen, oh God, with Doug's videos and Freddie's videos, probably over 20 or 30 million times at a minimum. So, I mean, every video Doug made with it had, you know, 500,000 to 1 million views on it. So to say that it's the most famous Aston Martin on the internet, I don't think is a stretch, because I don't know there's another Aston that has that kind of viewership to it.